Welcome to Library Out Loud, a conversation about any and all things related to the Spokane County Library District. Library Out Loud is brought to you by the Spokane County Library District and our friends at STCU. Now, here's your host, Jane Baker.
Hello and welcome to Library Out Loud. I'm Jane Baker, and I am the Communication and Development Officer for the Spokane County Library District. Joining me today is Mo Regalado, who is with Movo Media Marketing. Is that correct?
Yes,
Got
ma'am.
that correct on
yes,
it.
you did.
Welcome, Mo. Thanks for coming in today. And we're going to be talking about your business and what you do and a great program that you're going to be doing at the Spokane County Libraries coming up in early 2018.
That's correct.
Great. Well, let's talk about that first.
Yes. We're old radio folks.
We were in a conversation just before we got started, and Tim pointed at me, and we got going. So here we go. We're going to have a good conversation today because you're having a class come up about Facebook.
Yes.
Facebook marketing and that type of thing for business people?
Yes. So it's really going to be focused on Facebook 101.
Great.
There's a lot of businesses out there that don't have a Facebook page or they don't understand the importance of social media.
Yes.
And when that social conversation is happening, whether it's on Facebook or Instagram or Twitter or Snapchat or any of the other social platforms, you want to be the one that's in control of your story, not your customers or maybe even your competition.
Absolutely.
So that's kind of what we're going to be going over. It's going to be a real basic Facebook 101 for business class, why you should have a Facebook page, why it's so important to create and curate good content. And of course, then we'll talk a little bit about the algorithm and really everything that it's kind of hard to put it in a 1 minute class.
Sure.
Or 1 minute class, in a one hour class.
Sure.
But I'd absolutely love to sit down with people and talk about how Facebook can impact
Great.
their business.
Great. Well, let's set a little foundation. The class is actually called How to Build Your Brand on Facebook.
Yes.
And it's going to be at the Spokane County Libraries. I believe 3 of our libraries, but the first one is coming up at the Spokane Valley Library.
Correct.
And that is on
January 17th.
January 17th.
Yes.
And I do believe there's a registration required for that.
Yes.
And the time again of the class was?
I believe it's at 8 a.m.
8 a.m. So if you're a business person or starting out a business, or even if you have a Facebook page, sometimes these classes, a 1 hour class, can help you connect again with, oh yeah, I need to be doing this or this or this. It's surprising to think that people aren't using Facebook right now for business if you're a new business person or just starting out. So you really do need to get on Facebook with that brand. And Facebook seems to be taken over by the brands these days, which is a whole nother topic that we can discuss at another time. But so Mo, you'll be teaching those classes. So let's talk about you first, to talk about the credibility that you have to bring this information to the libraries. Your background, we were both old radio people.
Yes.
I believe I'm a little bit older than you, but quite a bit. So your background then, you worked in radio.
Yeah, I worked in radio. I was a news director for 3 radio stations down in southeastern Arizona.
Awesome.
And then I had my own business, and I sold motorcycle accessories and apparel. And at the time, I was using MySpace.
Wow.
So I knew that I had my own profile on MySpace and that I should have a business profile as well, so that we were heavily involved in the community doing charity rides and poker runs and you name it. And we did a once-a-month bike night that was charity focused. And so we had to get that information out. So how are you going to get that information out? And of course I did do radio advertising.
Sure.
I did do that. But there's other avenues. And so then MySpace, I realized that there was also this thing called Facebook. This was back in 2007. And so, hey, maybe I should be on here too. Unfortunately, 2008 hit. Yes.
Yes.
That's all anybody has to say. 2008
Yes.
hit.
Yes.
And so I went through that process of having to shut my business down, and that's a super humbling experience. But it didn't stop my want or will to continue using social media to promote other things that I was doing. So it's actually been a great learning experience. And then we moved from Arizona to Minnesota, which is two extremes. I get that. And started building my own personal brand for voiceovers and radio using social media.
Oh, that's fabulous.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so really it has been a huge learning experience, and part of it is constantly staying up to date with everything that happens. And when you're so hooked into social, like some of us are, you really can feel when it changes. So when the algorithm actually makes a change and you're looking at the pages that you manage and your reach has dropped dramatically, okay, they did something.
Yes.
Let's start researching. And that's
Yes.
part of it too, is doing that research bit. So you're not just, it's not just social, you're also a researcher, you're a business person yourself, so you understand how important it is to stay up to date on everything that's happening in social.
Sure. It seems like there for a while, Facebook was changing something constantly.
Yes.
Very, very frustrating for those of us who try and manage our social media presence for organizations and businesses. And it seemed unfair. Like, oh, they want me to purchase ads. Suddenly I have to pay. And there was a lot of frustration that way. But I think there's ways to work around it, especially if you have that fan base built up pretty well.
There really is. It really, what Facebook and what I've learned over the years is what they're really looking for is what kind of content are you producing? Are you producing content that is valuable? Does it provide value to the person who's going to be reading it? So they have done a lot of things within the last 6 months. I think the last algorithm change was probably the beginning of October, and you saw just reach drop dramatically. Well, what happened? Well, the reason they did that is what they were trying to do was trying to, you figure there's 1.9 billion people on Facebook on average in a month.
Yes.
1.9 billion.
Yeah, it's mind-blowing.
And on a day, like in a day, there's, I believe, 1 billion on mobile. And so they're trying to protect that feed. And it's all about user experience too.
Sure.
And so they adjusted the algorithm, and you have to go with the changes. I think we were talking about how radio, you have to go with the flow.
Yes.
And you have to understand, okay, what happened, where did it start, and how do I adjust it?
Yeah.
And then again, as a marketer, I realize that marketers ruin everything. So
Yes, they do.
yes, they do. So of course you have more people that are doing that on Facebook, and they're using that, and so Facebook is trying to, again, protect that user experience.
Sure, sure. So I'm not even sure where to start. So many questions. I think I'm going to have to come sitting on your class on January 17th just for a refresher, because things change so quickly. Building a brand on Facebook. And the changes that happen, these algorithms that change. So how do you adjust? If we're going with the flow, where do you look first to make those adjustments?
Well, the first thing that I personally do is Facebook Facebook itself is a wealth of information.
Oh, yes.
So they have specific pages that you can go to. You can subscribe to their newsletter specifically, and they will tell you what is going on. The other thing that I do is I'm involved in a lot of social media groups. I'm involved in a lot of social media manager groups on Facebook, and we're constantly talking and connecting. And okay, I just saw this. Did it? And we call it natively, so it showed up natively.
Sure.
Did anybody else receive this?
Sure.
And so then you start talking, okay, this is a new change. When it comes to building a brand on Facebook, I think a lot of people for many years have been focused on likes.
Yes.
The more likes I have, that's going to show that I have such great credibility. Well, unfortunately, because marketers ruin everything, and people want to make a quick buck, they've created bots, they've created things where you can get all these extra likes. And then, of course, there's no engagement.
Sure.
So that actually can be a hindrance. So it's not just the likes, it's how much are the people that like your page engaging with it.
Yes, I agree. It's not about the numbers.
Correct.
It's about that engagement. So getting people to engage, finding that sweet spot in the content to get that engagement it's a challenge for us. And now I'm focused on the library here, but I know for all businesses,
Right.
what is it that's going to get people to engage? How do you get people to engage positively?
Yes.
Because, there's the trolls out there, and that's probably a whole nother subject that we could
Yes.
talk about.
I think some people have professional troll written like on their resume.
Absolutely, absolutely. You see them everywhere. Are these the type of things you'll be talking about in the class?
Those would be, I think, honestly, for the class itself, it's just the basics of how to build a Facebook page for your business.
Okay.
And understanding that your business page is not the same as your personal profile.
Absolutely,
And
absolutely.
there's a challenge, there's a disconnect. I've worked with people clients who are no longer clients of mine, that wanted to continuously post. That affects your rank on Facebook. There's an actual score that goes into it. Every like, reaction, share, comment, it's an algorithm. It's a math problem, and you're getting weighted with every single thing that you're doing and every single reaction that you're receiving. And there are negative reactions. People can hide your post. They can hide your page. They can unlike it. All of that affects your relevancy score.
So there's a sweet spot between posting too much or too little.
Yes.
And finding that balance, which is a challenge probably for more of an advanced social media
Yes.
type of class. But wow, it makes it sound so complex. It's almost as if I was a new business person, I'd be going, oh my gosh, am I going to spend all my time worrying about my presence on Facebook and not paying attention to my business as much? But how do you find that balance between being, especially if you're a sole proprietor?
Correct.
How do you find the balance between doing your business and promoting your business, especially on Facebook when it changes so fast? How do you get that help? Some of that has to do with your class, because
Exactly.
you're going to talk about that, and we're going to talk about that more. But first, we have to take a quick break, and we'll be right back here on Library Out Loud.
Library Out Loud is produced in Spokane, Washington by SpokaneTalksOnline.com, which is solely responsible for its content. Ask a question, recommend a guest, and hear this program again online anytime at
Is your
Spokane
child having trouble coping with a personal disability, but don't know where to go? Consider our friends at Breakthrough Incorporated. Breakthrough takes great pride in mentoring their DDA clients who have intellectual disabilities and their BRS clients who have challenging behaviors toward the creation of safe, appropriate, ethically sound life goals. They integrate programs at school and home to enrich their lives. They work hard to make a positive difference in you and your family's lives. Breakthrough provides a highly structured, fully staffed residential setting in local neighborhoods, 6 in Spokane and 2 in the Tri-Cities. Diagnoses affect people differently, so their service to each resident is unique, giving them the opportunity to grow and evolve. For more information on Breakthrough, visit their website at breakthroughincorporated.org.
Hi, this is Kurt Stockwell with Well Dressed Walrus. We are a local website design and development company here in Spokane. What we do is build beautiful, usable websites for local businesses. A website needs to be beautiful, it needs to be usable for your users, your customers, and yourself. Contact us anytime. We'd love to talk with you about your online marketing.
What? You haven't been to the library lately? Stop in today and see that the library is more than books. Spokane County Library District facilities feature on-site technology, including Wi-Fi, computers, and printers, as well as free use of meeting rooms. The Library District offers events and programs for all ages, from story times to career development and employer classes to Social Security workshops. Our staff is well trained and happy to help. Find out more about your library at scld.org.
Hello and welcome back to Library Out Loud. I'm Jane Baker, the Communication and Development Director for the Spokane County Library District. Joining me today is Mo Regalado. She is teaching a Facebook class coming
Facebook
up.
for Business, yes.
Facebook for Business at the Spokane County Libraries, 3 of our libraries. You can find the classes, times, and dates at scld.org at our website. The first class is coming up at the Spokane Valley Library at 8 a.m. on January 17th. I do believe it is a registration class, so go to our website at scld.org and check out the details, and you can register there. In the meantime, so it's a basic class to get started on Facebook.
Yes.
For businesses.
Yes.
Oh, if somebody's not on Facebook for a personal reason, would it pay for them to go to the class?
Yes.
Okay. So
it definitely would. And here's part of the deal is that, if there's kind of this thing, if I have a website, do I need a Facebook page? Yes.
Okay.
I personally think that yes, you do, because, and I'm going to grab my phone. People are on this
Yes.
constantly.
Yes.
So they might be scrolling through and they hear about your business, and then they're going to go search for it. Okay, but I can't find you on Facebook. So then, not to say that people are lazy, but people are lazy.
Yes.
They want instant gratification. And so for businesses to be on Facebook, you should have a presence. It helps with being in search, especially if you have reviews. Reviews on your Facebook page will actually show up on Google.
Yep.
So that's fantastic. If there's so many different aspects of social, but the best being that you can be found. And that's the most, to me personally, I think that's the most important thing, is being found when maybe you are a small business and nobody knows what you're doing.
Let's talk about who's on Facebook. You made comment that people are lazy. And that to a certain degree is true. But also, is there a demographic that you're finding? I mean, we have the digital natives, right? The younger generation who have come into the world and they've only known
Yes.
computers and digital, and yes, as you say, everybody's looking at their phones. That is their lives. I mean, I know some younger generation, I want to say millennials, or now even Generation Z, who is beyond, after the millennials, have come into the workforce, and they're always on their phones. I have some of them who have told me, I don't watch the national news. I
Right.
get my news from Facebook.
Yes.
The first time I'd heard that a few years ago, I was
Appalled.
somewhat horrified. But then I come from an older generation where, there was the nightly news and there was the local news. If you wanted to know what was going on around town, you watched that or you read the paper. And now those mediums are struggling.
They are a little bit.
A little bit because of social media, and social media is so fast. And in fact, it almost seems like they've turned the tables, and those news outlets are looking to social media for what the stories are.
Yes.
So you really do need to be on social media, even if you don't like it.
Yes.
It's where everybody is, right?
Yes,
Okay.
I would agree with that. I would say that, in particularly when you're looking at kind of the traditional broadcasting methods, a lot of them are turning to that digital media format,
Yep.
where they're creating their magazines that can only be viewed now online, where they're posting their content. And that's where that "are you posting valuable content" is going on Facebook or any of the social platforms. Instagram is owned by Facebook now.
Yep.
But it's still a very highly visual platform. One of the great things about it, people talk about hashtags, and one of the great things, if you're looking for something, look for that hashtag on Instagram.
Yes.
That would be my suggestion. If you have a small business that makes cat hats, if you have a small business that makes cat hats, give me a call. I'll help you out.
Yeah.
But, go on Instagram, put in hashtag cat hat. I don't know if that's a thing, but go on there and see who's posting. Who are these people? I think what people forget is that social media allows brands to connect with their customers and their potential clients at such a faster rate than they ever were able to. That is a double-edged sword, because if you're not connecting with your clients as what happened, or customers, if we remember the story about Brad's wife and Cracker Barrel, Cracker Barrel fired Brad's wife. I don't know what Brad's wife's name is.
Oh, no.
And it was posted on social, and it became this huge thing last year about firing Brad's wife, and Cracker Barrel never went and responded.
Yeah.
They just, it was kind of, and you know, I felt bad for their social media manager, because like, what are you going to do? Well, you have to respond. You cannot not respond, because then it's going to snowball, and it's just going to take a life of its own.
Absolutely. It's customer. It's
Yes.
as if a customer is standing in your business or is on the phone. If a customer is asking you questions or making comments or tagging you on Facebook, it's just like they're there in front of you, almost worse, because they have a huge audience as well.
Correct.
Yeah, so you have to be
So it's
right
all,
there.
It is right. You know, you have to be responsive, and if there's a challenge or an issue with a product or a service, you should be aware of it. And
Well, not only are you resolving that issue or problem with that particular customer, you're showing all your other customers
Yeah.
how you deal with those type of
exactly,
things.
and that you care. I think
Yes.
that's one of the most. I keep saying most important. Obviously, I'm having a crutch word issue right now. That's a radio thing. My favorite crutch word was fantastic. I used to say, what was your crutch word?
It depended on
depended
on
on
the
the
day.
Mine was fantastic.
Yes.
But before, brands really didn't have that personal relationship. And for brands to really win, and there are lots of brands that are doing it well on social, they're showing that they actually care about their customer. That they want to be invested in their lives. And personally, I think that's how it should be. We're bringing you into our house. We're bringing you into our home. And we're sharing you with our friends. We want to have that connection with you. So putting a face to a brand is not a bad thing.
Yeah. It is an interesting challenge for business. So
It is.
it's very exciting work that you do, and especially helping getting new businesses or businesses who haven't been on the social platform going on that type of thing. Now, you mentioned Instagram.
Yes.
Since they're owned by Facebook, there's sort of related that way. Other social media, do you talk about that in your class, such as Twitter or YouTube, Snapchat?
Yes.
Those type of things?
Yeah, I mean, it really depends on, if I were to be talking with a client, I would ask them what their demographic is. Who are you trying to reach? Because there's different areas for each business.
Yes.
So, but with this class that we'll be doing, again, it's how to set up your Facebook, how to build your brand. First step, set up a business page.
Just get started that way.
Just get started, and put up nice photos, not blurry
Yeah.
ones.
Sure.
That's a big thing.
Yes.
And then you need to, put your business hours. So that's really what the class is going to focus on is that
Basic setup.
how to set up your business page. Because when you go to set up a business page, there are categories to choose from. Which one do I choose? Which one do I put myself? Am I a public figure? Am I, an organization? Which one do I fit under? And so it's going to be walking people through that process, and then helping them decide, okay, what kind of page are you going to have? And it's really customizable now. Whereas before, way back when you put up a page, and like I said, in 2007, it was literally a personal page for my
Sure.
business. It wasn't
Yes.
a page then. It was
Yes.
just this personal feed. So there's a lot of customization options that you have now that people should be taking advantage of.
Yes.
And
yes.
Facebook just came out with Facebook Local, so that's huge. That's another app that they just released, and that's where you can find local businesses. So it's kind of like Yelp almost. So it'll be interesting.
There is a lot of crossover between several of these apps and formats. Several of these different things that there seems like anything that catches on really well, Facebook is incorporating.
Yes.
They really want to own it and take over that that market, and they're
Right.
very competitive, and they're right on top of those things. So it's interesting to watch how fast the social media things change and shift and kind of swipe from each
Right.
other, and they are different
They are.
demographics, as you said. Now, I'm going to speak for the library for a moment. We have a
Okay.
Facebook page, awesome Facebook page, great interactions with wonderful fan base. We also do Twitter, and we do find a whole different audience
Yes.
there, not only demographic-wise, but our Facebook seems to be local. It's more Spokane County, local people. And then on our Twitter page, we do have quite a few local people, a lot of authors and things like that. But then we fall into more national.
Mhm.
We see a lot of libraries across the nation all following each other. So
Yes.
it's almost more of an industry thing.
Mhm.
And then, of course, we have YouTube that we're working with that, and Instagram, we do that. And it's very busy to keep up with all these different things. And not provide, there's those programs out there where you can make a post and it'll post it to your Twitter and your Facebook and everything all at the same time. And we don't do that. And I don't recommend that as a communication professional. What are your thoughts on that?
So are you talking about like using something like Hootsuite
Hoots-
or
yeah. Well, now-
Buffer or
Yes,
any of
yes.
those things? So I'm actually of your thought process. I like to do native
Yes.
posting
Uh-huh.
just because I personally feel, and I've done a little bit of research on this, so obviously there could be a differing opinion on that, but that native posting on any of the platforms is better than
agree.
using
Yep.
than using any of these programs.
Totally agree.
However, I understand that to save time, to help share content, to work with a team, you have to use some of these programs. Totally understandable. Get it.
Sure.
Um,
Especially if you're a small business.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. I totally understand that. Personally, I like the interaction. You're talking about Twitter. One of the worst things that I think you could do on Twitter is automating your direct message.
Yes.
So if people follow you,
Yes.
that's not that personal connection that you're trying to make. And Twitter is such a weird. And I love Twitter. I'm a Twitter fanatic.
So am I.
I
Yes.
it's radio
Yes.
radio
Yep.
people.
Yep.
It's that higher level thinking when they still had 140 characters that you have to make your point in such a small little bit. Now it's 280. I still find myself keeping it brief, and I was did a conference last year for social media marketing, and they talked about the timeline on Twitter. And if I remember the numbers correctly, and somebody could probably fix this, but approximately your tweet will within 20 minutes lose its strength by half in 20 minutes. So if you have an audience of 100 people, that tweet in 20 minutes is only going to be seen by 50, and then it just keeps breaking down from
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
So Twitter is an animal. You just continuously have to keep going. I
Keep
love
feeding
it.
it, yes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Twitter's a great way if you want to build your brand on Twitter. It's a great way to use hashtags or to use their search bar. It's a great search engine to go in there and find those people that are interested in your product. And you start getting involved in those conversations. You don't start spamming them with your product, but you start talking to them.
Yes.
And you start that conversation. And I think that's what people forget about social. And what's one of the fun things about radio is that we're having that conversation with somebody. We're creating that community based around either our personality, which could be bigger than life, which obviously I have that bigger than life personality, but it's creating that community, making people feel like they are a valuable part of it. And so if you can get that, if you can get the fact that social is creating a conversation and creating a community, then I think you're going to win all the time.
Absolutely. That's awesome. Mo, we could talk a lot. There's so many things
Yes,
and
we
so many
could.
ways to go with this conversation. We're running out of time, but I would like to invite you to come back and we can talk
Definitely.
more about this another time.
Yes.
And if you're interested in learning more about what Mo's talking about or getting a Facebook page set up, the classes at the Spokane Valley Library on January 17th, other classes around the County Library District as well, always free. Go on scld.org and find out more. Again, thanks for being here today.
Thank you for having me.
Again, come back. We'll talk more and look forward to your class. And we'll see you in the new year.
Yes.
All right. That's it for today on Library Out Loud.
Library Out Loud is produced in Spokane, Washington by SpokaneTalksOnline.com, which is solely responsible for its content. Ask a question, recommend a guest, and hear this program again online anytime at SpokaneTalksOnline.com. Library Out Loud is brought to you by the Spokane County Library District and STCU. Go visit and explore your local library today.